Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and we are back. Welcome to another episode of Run It Back. This is the live action version of Run It Back, and we have listened to you. It is here. We are reviewing the cult comic book classic, or the comic book cult classic, the cult classic film, Scott Pilgrim versus the World. I'm joined, as always, by my guys, Shubert to the left and Ian to the bottom. Shubert, how you doing today, brother?
Dude, I'm doing pretty well, man. I'm glad that the fans decided to choose this movie. It's a little bit off the normal comic book movie idea of like when we're talking about comic book movie week where, you usually think of DC or Marvel, but it's fun to do something a little bit different.
Look, I think it's awesome that the fans chose this one. I really do. Because after rewatching this film is amazing. And like it's above its time. The way that the things that they do are great. I just think it was a very smart film that if it was released today, it would have been a major smash in the theaters. It would have worked way better than it did back then, but we'll get into all of that. Ian, brother, how are you doing? Glad to have you here once again.
I'm doing good, man. Glad to be back. It's another dark and dreary night here in Michigan, as most October nights are. But, that's winter for you. We're getting through it one day at a time. It really hasn't even hit yet. There's no snow or anything yet. So I'm
winter. It's like 80 degrees.
So the first things that I thought of when thinking of this movie, I wrote down three things that are my initial thoughts, and then I'll get y'all's, and y'all can respond to this. The first thing, what a fucking cast. Like, my goodness, what heavy hitters. You get Michael Cera, and Michael Cera is probably the biggest star of the film at this point in time when it's released. Now it's a totally different thing. You get Chris Evans, who's recovering from Fantastic Four bomb. You're getting a Brie Larson before Brie Larson. You're getting Brandon Routh recovering from Superman and trying to get his career back on the thing, who's an incredible actor. You get the lady from The Good Girls, the sister. I don't know her name.
Yeah. Well, she's kind of like she's coming off Arrested Development at this point, so people kind of like know of her, but she hasn't hit it big yet. You're getting Kieran
Culkin, who is trying to make a name for himself, makes a big move in this. You get Aubrey Plaza, who kills it, and you get Anna Kendrick. You could not get this cast today. This cast could not be made in 2020. This is the NBA salary cap went up and the Golden State was able to sign KD, which is a once in a lifetime thing. This is an amazing cast. That's the first thing I got. Second thing, Scott Pilgrim dating a high schooler is wild in 2020. Gotta throw that out there off rip. Dude's 22 years old, dating a 17-year-old. It's Canada, but like, that's not okay.
Those Degrassi girls were dating like 20-year-old dudes.
I know, but I just got to let that be known before we really gush over this film and like, because I love it and we're going to talk about it, but like, wild. Dude's dating a high school girl. He's 22. She's 17. They are
indefensible.
5 years apart. Yeah.
Wasn't Homeboy wasn't in Trailer Park Boys, gosh.
That doesn't make it right.
Dude's daughter. Wasn't he like, oh man, I can't remember names right now, but
I'll talking about Ricky's daughter
afterwards. Yeah, Ricky's daughter. Wasn't that dude that she was with?
Oh, Corey?
An adult, yeah.
But they're just
No, that wasn't Corey. That was Jacob.
But they're wild people.
He was like way younger than her. But like,
I'm just saying.
I think if the girl is younger than the guy, that's a different story.
You got to wait till college for that. Like, if you're gonna be 25 dating a 20-year-old, he
was 22.
Even that's weird. But I mean, it's 5 years apart. She's 17.
22 is like just graduated college.
Yeah, 22
She's 17. She hasn't even graduated high school yet.
22 is very different.
That's why they go after him.
Like, it's a very different maturity level.
It's the first thing they say in the film.
Like, like 22 is someone who understands what the fuck they're doing to a 17-year-old, and that's why I just gotta point that out at first. Like, I just gotta point that out. Like, that shit was wild. I'm glad Ian have the same amount of fire behind his voice like me and Shubert.
It's just so funny. It's just so funny, like how that whole thing is taken in the beginning of the film, because like everyone's like coming at him about it for sure. But then, like, when he talks about the relationship, he talks about it like he's a high schooler. He's like, oh, yeah, we're talking about, like, what happened in yearbook. And, like, we almost, like, touch hands or whatever.
We got to talk about Scott Pilgrim individually as a character later. We'll get into all that. That's just opening thoughts. And the final one I got, all the video game and comic book things in this movie are fucking amazing. They are like when you see the plus life, the sword come out of his chest, the D when he's playing the thing, like just all the different
all the
ways
little
they animate,
numbers,
like the numbers, the coins, like just everything
yeah.
about this film from video game to comic book, I thought was amazing. Now I'll get into y'all's opening thoughts.
Even the score was pretty much comic book, or at least 2-bit video game.
Shubert, so give us your opening thoughts on this film.
I thought that it was, like you said, way before its time with its casting choices and with like the direction that it went, because like I feel like in 2010 maybe the right audience wasn't going to see the movie, paying to go see movies for like a movie like this. And
this movie, if it came on streaming, it would have been a smash too.
Well, I think like the fact that it's still on Netflix is a point to why it's still on Netflix. I think it's, if we look back into Netflix's catalog, I'm sure it's one of the movies that's most watched by, our demographic.
Yeah.
So
I'm glad the fans chose this one, because me not watching this in so long, like I haven't watched this since around the time it came out, and like going back to it, I'm gonna get into it, but there's things that I noticed that I didn't notice the first time. Like the first time, all I was concerned about is these cool fights and these video game cuts and stuff. But when you really look at the story, there's a lot there. Ian, give us your initial thoughts, brother.
Well, this is only the second time I had seen it, and I'm glad you brought that up about the streaming, because that's where I saw it. I had a friend, actually I was in New Orleans still. One of my friends was like, hey, I just watched this crazy movie. Like next time we get together, we got to watch this movie. And I was like, all right. So we watched the movie, and it turned out it was amazing. And I'd always heard it was like, one of the cult classic type movies,
yep.
But I just never really given it the time of day. So I was also very glad that the fans chose this movie again, so I could have an excuse to watch it another time.
Hell yeah, 100%. Well, you know how this show goes, everybody who's back. But if you don't know how this show goes, we go over a bunch of different things, a bunch of different categories. We go background first while I read off some background about the film. We go best scenes. Depending on the film, we do best fights. This one is calls for it. We have Are We Sure, where we question like some of the logistics of the film. Are we sure some of this stuff actually plays out the way it's supposed to? We have the winner of the film, who took the dub. We got who took the L, the loser of the film. We have six man of the film, and we have if insert blank actor to replace blank actor in the movie, different casting choices, and Shubert runs off who could have been casted in this movie. So, like always, let's get it going, fellas, and I'll start off with background. So, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World is a 2010 comedy film co-written and produced and directed by Edgar Wright, who was supposed to do Ant-Man at first, and this is the film why he was supposed to do Ant-Man, just to throw that out. Based on the graphic novel series Scott Pilgrim by Brian Lee O'Malley and the video game Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, it stars Michael Cera as Scott Pilgrim, a slacker musician who must win a competition to get a record deal and battle the 7 evil exes of his newest girlfriend, Ramona Flowers, played by Mary Elizabeth Winstead. It also stars Chris Evans, Brandon Ruth, Mo Whitman in some of the evil exes, Anna Kendrick, Kieran Culkin, Allison Peel as some of Scott's friends, Ellen Wong as Scott's other girlfriend, Brie Larson as his ex, and Jason Schwartzman as Gideon, who is the leader of the evil exes. And the film was an adaptation of the comics. It was proposed following the release of the first volume. Wright became attached to the project early on, while filming beginning several years later in March of 2009 in Toronto. The film premiered after a panel discussion in San Diego Comic-Con International on July 22nd, 2010. It received a wide release in North America on August 13th. The film was released in the United Kingdom from August 21st. Its notably famous features in Toronto setting, as well as the video game and comic book imagery, and matching the style of the comics in the game. Using a Battle of the Bands plot, it also uses different real bands as the basis of each fictional group, including Beck and Metric, with the actors in the film performing themselves. It contains, so like Michael Cera actually played that stuff. It contains extensive visual effects using a combination of digital and physical methods to create the image with the title sequence, and some of the fight scenes incorporating music into the graphics. The film was a box office bomb, though. Let me just say that. But it received positive reviews from critics who particularly particularly noted the film's visual style and humor. It eventually garnered a cult classic following, which became a cult classic film. It has made several top 10 lists and received over 70 awards and nominations. It was shortlisted for the best visual effects category at the 83rd Oscars. It should have won, but that's how that goes. The Oscars are always fucking nuts. In scholarly analysis, it's been widely discussed as a transformative media narrative. Now, just to show you how bad of a box office bomb it was, it had a budget of $85 million and it made $48.1. That's why we never got a sequel. But on home release, the first week in DVD, it sold 190,217 copies, earning $3,422,000 in revenue. By 2011, it earned 27 plus million, and then by 2018, it earned another 29 million. And I'm sure it just kept going. So that just shows you how big of a cult classic this is. For in 2011 to make 27 million, and then by 2018 you make a whole nother 29 million. So it just shows how big of a cult classic this film is. Any thoughts on just box office, anything in the background that I said, like in terms of like the bombing or the money that it made, or like Edgar Wright's visual effects Oscar?
Why did it bomb? Why did it bomb then if it was so popular? Was it just bad marketing?
It was. I just think it was in an era where the MCU is starting. And like people are like, what is this? Michael Cera wasn't really well loved. Like that was kind of after.
That was
right,
what?
That was around the transition where people were like, yeah, that was after Juno.
Oh, that was after Juno.
Mm-hmm. So it's like that. Also, Edgar Wright's not this big no name, and then you see all these video game stuff. People just didn't appreciate the type of film that it is back then. I think now in 2020. Moviegoers and TV watchers are more educated. We want more deep material and more original content. We want better made stuff. Like we're a smarter movie going and television audience now. And I think if
it opened the same weekend, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying if it opens now, it crushes its budget, and this is $100 million film, $100 million plus dollar film, and I think that shows based on the DVD sales. As we became smarter as a population, this film became more and more loved. Now, what you gonna say, Shubert?
Yeah, so when it came out on the box office the opening weekend, it finished 4th. The films ahead of it was the other guys who had come off a week already. Great. And then The Expendables and Eat, Pray, Love that just came out that day.
Scott Pilgrim's definitely better than The Expendables and Eat, Pray,
But The
Love.
Expendables was way better marketed. And
true. And the other guys was way better marketed as well. Like the other guys was a big, like you have Mark Wahlberg coming off like being at the height of his powers. You got Will Ferrell being at the height of his powers. And it's like, that movie's going to be
The other guys was after Step Brothers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think by just a couple of years.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like Will Ferrell's beloved at this point. It's after Talladega Nights. It's after Step Brothers. It's after like all that shit. And this is Mark Wahlberg transitioning into comedy because I think this is after Ted. So it's like, the big. The big combination.
There was one other big movie. Oh God, dude. Okay, so also on that box office weekend, you had Inception.
Oh my gosh.
But it was in week 5. So week 5 of Inception. You had
Inception was one of those films where when people saw it, they were like, "Oh, I got to re-see it because I don't know everything that happened." Despicable Me, huge family audience.
So, and then the other ones that are notable that were in there, but would have, Scott Pilgrim, of course, beat it was Step Up 3D in week 2.
Yeah.
Salt with Angelina Jolie, right?
Yeah, and she was big. That was the last big film she did because it bombed.
In week 4, and then Dinner for Schmucks in week 3.
And again, another terrible Steve Carell movie. But like Inception, Despicable Me, the other guys, and what was the other thing? Eat, Pray, Love. And The Expendables. That's why Scott Pilgrim didn't make a lot of money. Like,
there was a lot of competition for sure. But I mean, like, I feel like you can almost say that for any movie.
Yeah, but
especially if nobody's really talking about it to begin with. You know what I'm saying?
Thing. Like, it didn't have it wasn't marketed the right way. Like this, like this movie should have been on IGN's, like they should have had so much stuff with it, like an IGN thing. They should have went on whatever Collider was doing. They should have went on some video game YouTube shows. Like there's things that this film should have did that it didn't do, because at the time, like I said, we were uneducated movie audience. Like if you go back and look at movies from like the 80s and 90s, I don't understand how our parents got like let Hollywood get away with that. Like Bloodsport is terrible. Bloodsport is absolutely terrible. The Mortal Kombat movie is terrible. Like, even though I enjoy watching it, like those things, those action movies that our parents' generation loves and holds dear, it's like y'all experience some shitty fucking movies.
There's some James Bond films that aren't that great.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah, dude.
All the Pierce Brosnans are terrible.
When I feel the same way about a lot of comedy movies from the 90s. Like I just can't watch the large majority of films from the 90s just because like everything was just horrible. It felt cheesy. Like everything they did just like, felt, I know people love like over the top.
I agree with you. I know people love Jim Carrey and Adam Sandler, but like to me, and we're gonna do this and it's awesome that we started with Scott Pilgrim and Michael Cera. We're gonna get into the Apatow era of comedy. To me, the Apatow and Todd Phillips era of comedy with Old School, Hangover, Forgetting Sarah Marshall, Superbad, in that era, that is one of the smartest eras of comedy movies and hilarity that we've seen. Like, to me, the comedies that were great in the 90s were the black comedies, like Friday, the Eddie Murphy shit. But, like, the white comedies weren't going there. They weren't pushing the envelope like the Apatow comedies were. And the Apatow comedies did, honestly, what black comedies did, and pushed the envelope and asked a question that was like, they made a dramatic movie, but they put funny people in it. So therefore, those dramatic situations could be turned into humorous moments. Like, look at Forgetting Sarah Marshall. It's about a breakup. And this dude, instead of having the girl be crying and then like the dude trying to, rebound, or the girl trying to rebound, we have a man who's in his 30s who goes to Hawaii, supposed to be this paradise, but he's crying the whole time. He then like is a slob. He meets this woman who he falls in love with, kind of, and like it's just like all this shit. And then, mind you, while he's there, his ex-girlfriend and rocker boyfriend show up, and it's just like, what the fuck? So I just think the era of comedies, like that just goes back to my point. The way we have progressed as a movie-going audience, we've just become smarter, man. Because like those 90s comedies are they're fart jokes. They're not even dick jokes.
Honestly, a lot of them, came from Saturday Night Live skits. They're pretty much skits like that
Wayne's
were elongated.
World, all that shit, bro. That was like, oof.
They even tried to make a Night at the Roxbury movie, which was apparently terrible. I never went and watched it.
Like, Will Ferrell almost didn't become a movie star. It took Old School with Todd Phillips for him to really, like, get his shit going, because Night at the Roxbury was a bomb.
Man, that would have been such a shame if Will Ferrell had burned out right there.
No, I'm telling you, Old School is what broke him out. Old School was his first. And then after Old School, he does Elf, and then he does Anchorman. And after Anchorman, it's over with.
Yeah, man. And Elf is a classic too.
So y'all be ready. Like, this is just a hint at the next film. We're gonna do a comedy, and I'm letting the fans know. We'll give y'all a choice of them, but it'll probably be a comedy from the Apatow era. As long as it's not Knocked Up, I'll be okay. Because I can't.
My vote is just Will Ferrell comedies. Choice between 4 of the best Will Ferrell movies.
Well, I gotta throw. Well,
that would be a hard choice.
Because me and you were talking about Superbad over text, Ian. That movie's incredible, bro.
That's true. We got to get to that one first.
We'll put like Old School, Superbad, Forgetting Sarah Marshall, and Anchorman, and we'll let the fans choose between like those 4.
All right, that'd be dope.
So, but we're talking Scott Pilgrim starring Michael Cera. Let's get into the best scenes where we're gonna go in order. I'm gonna list out some of the ones I have, and then y'all can go. I'll list out one, and then Ian can list out one. Shubert can list out one, and we'll go back and forth of listed scenes. The first scene I have is the talent, which is his best friend, the lead singer, because they put, when you introduce the band, they put like their epithets and like who they are. So the lead singer is the talent, and I wrote down the talent asking Knives if she will geek out from meeting the band, and that's when we meet the band. So the first scene where we meet the band and him asking Knives, will she be a real fan and geek out, and then we're starting to see Knives, and we're getting this oh, Scott Pilgrim's a bum. Everybody's calling him a bum. And it starts right in this scene. And just, it was a good scene. I think out of the band, my favorite member is the drummer, because I think she leaves the best impression, and she is the most impactful outside of Scott in the band. So that's what that scene, I think, starts it off of like, okay, we're we're laying the groundwork of this movie. Ian, what you got? You can go next.
Yeah, man, I like the way that they were doing the comic book animations, and like they had the box with the name and the rating in there, like right from the very start. So you just knew it set the tone immediately. But they didn't introduce Kim at any point. Like they didn't have a box for her. I noticed that. And then they introduce young Neil and the talent as well. And young
I love
Neil
that
is
his
a
name
very
is Young Neil.
Character.
Like the fact that I think honestly this movie made me start calling people young this and young that. Like I used to call you Shubes, Young Shubes. Like that was how, like, when we first.
No, I don't think this was the movie that spawned that, but
you don't think so?
No, probably not. But I do think that was a funny concept, and also it was, you know, another subplot that ended up being a part of the whole deal. Like I think every character, in the way that they shit on, you know, kind of made them endearing, because you kind of felt that Scott really was a bum. So
like
it's
Scott was the loser of this. Like Scott was a major loser during majority of this film.
I don't know. That's debatable. I mean, young Neil, his box literally just said lives here. So Scott might have young Neil beat on that one.
But young Neil's 20 though. Young Neil is like
he is
second
young.
year in he's young. Like I gotta give young Neil some slack. I fuck with young Neil. But all right, what scene you got next, Ian?
I would say the first memorable scene. Man, this movie is crazy because, like, if you think about it compared to a movie like Goodfellas, the scenes are so defined and they're very long. Like they spend a lot of time in each individual scene, whereas Scott Pilgrim is basically just a flash of, you know,
things,
cuts
it
to
moves
the next
very
place.
fast.
It does.
Yeah, they spend maybe a minute or two at each place at the most, and then they're flashing to something else all of a sudden. Which is part of the reason that the movie, I think, works the way it does. But anyway, I couldn't write down every scene in this movie like I was for Goodfellas. So I say the first most memorable scene was in the record shop when they meet Julie Powers. Okay. Just because that was like the first, you know, big cameo that they had that I recognized.
That's Aubrey Plaza, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Aubrey Plaza. She plays Julie Powers, the girl who has the party eventually.
Yeah. Okay, I wrote that down.
The party scene and like the record store scene right before that were, you know,
that's where biggest. They meet Ramona for the first time. Oh no, that's not. You're right. That is before Ramona.
Ramona, they meet at the library.
Yep. True.
Which is also that's a fun sequence in itself. Him going around with knives, going to the arcade.
Yeah, I was about to say I have a couple scenes before Ian, so let me just throw, because there's some in between. I like meeting Kieran Culkin's Wallace. When you meet him for the first time, wrote that down. Dude is super hilarious, and we see like when they did his boxing epithet, he's like owner of all of this. More so leaning Scott is a bum. Like just Kieran's amazing. I love his character. And then other thing I got in between that is the play date or the playtime. It just shows like how Scott can only hang out with knives during the day, and it's really like a play date, which the drummer girl said. So I thought that was awesome. Schubert, you can come in on. Oh, no, go ahead, Ian. No, you can go ahead.
That's when him and Wallace are picking her up from school, right?
Yep, exactly. Yeah. And Wallace is like, break up with this girl, bro. You don't she does not deserve this type of evil that you're putting on her. But
well, and then she says the same thing to her right before he leaves.
True. All right, Schubert, if you got anything before Ian's meeting Aubrey Plaza scene.
No, I mean, I also think that the whole Wallace thing was really, really great. I mean, he ends up being a pretty funny character the whole way through.
A very important character.
An important character, yeah. Their dynamic is really important because I guess that really is like Scott's really closest friend.
I think he's the angel on his shoulder, like to give him advice.
You also have the other person who gives him advice that he talks on the phone with his sister, Anna Kendrick, who I think even pops up before then, which is where I was like, oh, well, meet her with totally forgot too. Anna Kendrick was in this because this is like her second movie off Twilight.
Yep. And that goes into the amazing cast that it is. So we got Ian's meeting Aubrey Plaza. The next, Schubert, what you got after that?
After Aubrey Plaza, well, then we go to the party, and one of the first things I put on here was this dude sketched this girl's hair and carried it around.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, what a weirdo.
I love when Aubrey Plaza goes in on how big of a shit asshole Scott is at the party. Like, that was just amazing. She's like, don't you dare go after Ramona, Scott. You're a fucked up person. You broke her heart, her heart, her heart. It's just like, damn, are we sure that Michael Cera was pulling all these hoes?
Well, and they do that effect with Aubrey Plaza, which is why I thought it was one of the best scenes, because it really stuck out to me when she's telling him, don't go, like, I forbid you to go after another girl. The background kind of just blacks out and it zooms in on her face. She gets really spooky for a moment.
Aubrey Plaza is amazing in this, man. Like,
yeah,
all the introductions of certain characters, it's gonna be hard to pick a winner in six man of this movie because there's so many people who qualify.
Well, I think we're forgetting one very important person in the scene, which is Como, the guy who he shows the sketch to.
Oh yeah, that's the dude from like New Girl, and
no, yeah, he is from New Girl, or is he from? Yeah. Or he's from Broad? No, he's not from Broad City. He's from New Girl.
Yeah, he dates Jess or whatever.
Yeah, he was a side character for a while.
Yep, for sure. That was.
But he's been in other things. He's like a character actor for sure.
Yep, I thought that was the whole party. Great,
knows
scene,
everybody.
Great moments. Shit was hilarious. So after that, the next thing I have is Scott and Ramona's first date when Scott gets to sleep to her house, and he's like, "Ooh, I'm cold. Let's warm me up." Thought that was like a great moment for Scott. Like, okay, so maybe Scott is a little player.
Well, that goes back to the high school slick talk, because like that's all he knows how to do is like, oh, we're so cold. We got to get under the bed sheets. Like that's the classic, like high schooler move. So are they basically just trying to say that he should be dating a high schooler because he basically is one?
Well, they say he's an immature clown. That's what it is. 1,000%. But
he gets the girl.
Somehow. He does get the girl. But Shubert, what you got next? And then we'll go to Ian.
Oh, after. I don't know. You probably have to go over me because I'm trying to think because like it flashes so fast. I'm like, okay, so what happened after?
Ian, what you got then?
I think the next scene is when he gets the email that he skims over basically, and he goes,
"Oh, the 7 even X's."
Yeah, and then he just deletes it.
This is so boring.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then he goes to sleep and has the dream about Ramona, and then he wakes up to her delivering him a package.
Yep, and he gets her number, and then but that's before their first date, and then they go on the date.
Yeah, that night.
Oh no! That's the second. That's day 2. That is day 2. They have day 1. Yeah, and then he wait. Yeah,
and then that's when he's like, "Oh, I got to break up with Knives."
Yep, and then I have when Knives.
No, because they do the email, right? Or am I wrong?
Yeah, I think okay. So Ian, it goes.
Did I skip over something?
Yeah, the package is before the first date. It goes package, first date, email, because he has to have the first date before the email. Because then the email comes because now he's like officially with her, and then after the email, it's like okay, they have this band, and then that goes in. They have the first night of the tournament for the music, and that goes into when Knives and Ramona first meet, and he's like, "We got to play fucking loud because like I can't get caught." And I was just like, "Oh man, typical skis ball shit." I was like, "Gosh, look at fucking Scott Pilgrim." It just reminded me of just like any bro that I know who's a cheater. Like it's just like trying to do anything to get over.
Yeah, man. I mean, you got to do what you can to survive. And if that's just banging on your guitar for a half hour, so the girl that you're with right now and your next girl can't have a conversation, then that's what you got to do, man.
Was Sex Bomb a good band?
I think they were a band.
2010?
They were definitely a band.
That is one of my Are We Sure's. Is Sex Bomb a good band? I don't think so.
There's a reason that, well, one of the characters we haven't even mentioned yet, but there's a reason that they are where they are. You know what I'm saying? Like,
no, 100%.
I don't think this is the full Sex Bomb.
And they only win the first round of the band because enter the next scene that I have. Enter Matthew Patel, the dude who sent the email, and we get the first battle with the Evil X's. And that's the only reason why they won, because in the battle they destroyed the band that the band that they were playing against died. But what a good fight! And I love the flashback scene to where we get like the anime cartoon comic book art style where we see Matt Patel and Ramona's backstory when they were in 7th grade.
Yeah.
And they kind of do like a Dragon Ball Z bit almost, where he flies up in the air and then starts shooting fire out of his fingertips.
Yep, and then he hits him with the Hadouken, the big, like, just straight big uppercut fucking, or no, that's a Saryuten. He hits him with it, just like, badass, bro. I was like, hell yeah. Another, are we sure Scott Pilgrim is like a major fight? Like, is Michael Cera this badass karate fighter that can just beat these random exes?
Well, I mean, I think, what makes any of them like that, like Jason Schwartzman or character.
Are we sure when we get to Jason Schwartzman? Because I'm like, hell no. Fuck no.
So, I mean, even the chick from Good Girls, Mae Whitman, too. Like, I mean, like, who says that she's like a killer fighter, too?
But I believed her over Michael Cera.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think that's just the whole point is that Scott Pilgrim is just like this weak guy who's supposed to be like, the normal guy on the video game. And you're like, oh, that guy kind of looks like me.
Yeah.
So
true.
Like that's his whole point of doing that, and is all played up for the thing. But yeah, like when going back to the anime flashback, I think that's good because it pays homage to like the original drawing of the comic.
Yeah,
too.
the comic
like
in the video game.
Same deal.
100%.
Yeah, in the video game. So
loved it. Loved all of that. So after the Matthew Patel fight, the next thing I have is Anna Kendrick is the audience with her reactions and everything. Just like the way she reacts to everything. She's like the audience because she was like, man, my brother's so dumb. And you're like, whoa, like what the fuck? Like you're just being a douche to your brother. And then Anna Kendrick loses her boyfriend to
Wallace.
To Wallace. Loved it. Loved that moment. Great moment. Shubert, if you have
common,
anything, you can go. If not, Ian, go ahead.
She was like, not again.
Yeah, that was a great bit. So, what y'all got after the Matthew Patel big moment? Because I think and now it's just vignettes of the evil exes now. Because now, like the beginning, it's hard to follow because it's like we're meeting different people. But each scene now is paired with, okay, now we have this battle. Now we have this battle.
Well, yeah, the next whole bit is about Wallace at the house being like, oh, yeah, Lee or whatever, like Scott Lee or whatever, Lee Scott or whatever his name is.
Getting ready for
Lucas Lee.
Lucas Lee.
Yeah.
That's the next thing y'all got? Yeah, that's the next. But I have Scott's second date with Ramona with where they're cooking before where Wallace is like in 60 minutes. Come meet me if it goes bad. And then we just get the line in there, wait, bread makes you fat? And I was just like, yes, this is awesome. This is amazing. And it just shows like, damn, Scott's game is very high school surface level because he couldn't get past his 60 minutes without doing saying a bunch of, like you said, Ian, just played out high school game.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm sorry, man. I was reading, trying to catch up to where we are in the story. I was trying to take notes on this, but like I say, it was just flashing so fast.
It was hard. No, it was. That's why after the beginning, I break it down by which fight we got. So now we're to the Lucas Lee fight, which I loved Chris Evans in this, man. I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the fight he sounded like Ben Stiller, though.
But I think that was on purpose. I think that was very much so on purpose.
Definitely.
So what were you saying, Ian?
Well, they definitely painted him out to be the classic Hollywood douche.
Yeah.
Which is why I think it was only appropriate that they didn't spend too much time on his fight. Like Scott just kind of outsmarts him real quick, and then they move on to the next guy.
Sure? Like that has to be an are we sure? Or like if Scott doesn't outsmart him, there's no way he's beating Lucas Lee.
Well, I don't know. I mean, right before that, he's getting his teeth kicked in on the ground by all the stunt doubles, and then he walks over and gets a coffee and turns back around, and Scott's like, all right, yeah, let's get him on.
Then Lucas Lee's whooping his ass. And like, if it wasn't for Lucas Lee's Hollywood douche ego about grinding on a skate rail, his ass would have lost. Scott would have lost that fight. I believe that one.
Well, so that's the thing. Do we think because there's 7 X's, do we think they're doing some kind of like each X is like one of the 7 deadly sins or some kind of relation to that?
Oh,
I didn't even think about that. Yeah, well, because Jason Schwartzman would be Raph, or no. Well, Jason Schwartzman might be Envy, actually.
Yeah, because he doesn't care until she leaves.
Yeah, and he's jealous of who she's with, like the next person. Yeah, he's definitely Envy.
I think then Lucas Lee would just be Vanity, if that's one of the 7 deadly sins.
Or is Vegan, or is Brandon Ruth Vanity? Brandon Ruth might be Vanity. Lucas Lee is
I need to
with his
see these
veganness.
things.
Oh, Todd, the vegan guy?
Yeah.
I don't know about him, man.
That's interesting. Let us come back to that, Ian. We could do that at the end because, like,
Lust,
look up the
gluttony,
sins.
greed, sloth, wrath, envy, and pride.
Yeah,
So
well,
he could be pride.
I think
Well,
Lucas
so
Lee
we-
is pride for sure.
And then Matthew Patel, since we've already talked about his fight, what do we think he would be?
Matthew Patel. I'm trying to think about their love. Like, they have one kiss. Repeat the sins again, Schubert.
Lust, gluttony, greed, sloth, wrath, envy, pride.
He might be sloth because she said he was like lazy. Like, she said that like it was a very just like early 7th grade relate. He has to be sloth because I know Lust is the girl from Good Girls because of the way they take her down with her orgasm. I know we're skipping through stuff,
Are
but
you talking
like,
about Roxy?
yeah, I'm talking about yeah, and like that they take her down by her special. So there may be some stuff behind it. After we get to each person, let's talk about that. But I think Lucas Lee definitely is pride because like his pride is what kills him.
Yeah. Scott's like, oh, I bet you can't do this.
Yep.
And he's like, oh, well, I'm not just going to do this. This is suicide. And Scott's like, well, there are girls watching.
Yep, and his pride takes him down. Good call, Ian. That's why we got you here, man. Good call. I like the 7 deadly sins because I think there's something to that.
Wild card,
1000%.
baby.
All right, so the next scene I have after that is so after Chris Evans, Lucas Lee makes his appearance. I said awesome role. Oh, I think he had a good quote where he's like, I can even do this after when I'm getting blazed in my Winnie. I was like, oh, nice. He's getting blazed in his Winnie, his Winnebago. Loved it. Loved that line. So then I have after that, Envy is back in town. Carl Macchiato for fuck Pilgrim, said by Aubrey Plaza. Love that line. Like every time she was cursing, we were getting beep, beep, beep. Loved all that. So Envy herself, the girl, is back in town. And then I got Knives freaks out. Scott versus Todd. Knives freaks out and gets her ass punched in the face by Todd and punches her highlights out of her hair. Thought that was fucking nuts.
That was also when Knives was on her. I'm gonna go try and make Scott jealous with Young Neil.
Yeah.
Well, and at one point there was a scene where he comes back home. I think it was after one of the dates, and they're doing like a Jerry Seinfeld bit.
Yeah, that was after he gets to second base, and they do the dum 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 dum.
Yeah. Yeah, they lead in with the intro music when he walks through the door. They got the laugh track in the back. And
that's before the Todd fight, for sure.
And I couldn't remember which one that was. Okay, so we're right around there then.
Yep. So what y'all think about the Todd fight being he's the vegan? I love the whole vegan police bit. Scott outsmarts him, gets him to drink half
and half.
Half and half. What sin would you say Todd
Gluttony.
is?
Because he indulged in too many things to break his veganism, to make his powers.
Schubert, okay. Gluttony. I like that.
Schubert's been waiting on that one.
What did he have? The chicken parmesan? He's like,
because he ate.
Cheese isn't vegan?
Well, no, the first thing that he said. He was like, wait, gelato's not vegan? And then they were like, no, milk and eggs, dumbass. And then he was like, wait, chicken parm. And he was like, damn. I was just hungry. It was just a one-time thing. It was just like, fuck, bro, Todd, you're not a vegan, bro. You're just lying with your super vegan powers. I thought that was great. See, even that joke's ahead of his time. Like, vegans are better than people. Like, that went over people's head. If that was today, shit's fire. Shit's amazing.
Facts.
There would have been a lot of pissed off people at that one.
Yeah, that's why I think it's still doing well now. It's one of those, like, I have to do a little bit more of a deep dive into like the movies that were coming around that time, but I just don't know if like a lot of them comedically are able to hold up.
Yeah.
But like a lot of things that Scott Pilgrim hits on really make it funny because things that go on later on in that decade.
Yep, 100%. So after the Todd fight, I wrote down the vegan police and the Knives freaks out. So then I have Roxy versus Ramona, and Roxy calls her a has-been. I was like, oh, this shit is hilarious. Shit was fucking fun. Roxy was awesome, but she is definitely lust. Now that we're like doing that out. And I loved how Scott was like, I can't hit a girl. And Ramona starts doing his hands, and she has her big hammer.
And feet.
Yeah, bro. All that was a great fight.
What was Roxy's weapon?
Roxy had like the chain. She has like a chain sword with like knives attached to each of the chains, and she's swinging that shit around and whoops her ass.
She's just doing the BDSM bit.
Yeah, she's lust. She's lust, 100%.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I didn't realize until we were sitting here. I think if you watch this video back, you'll see me at one point like freak out to myself. But I didn't realize that this was the same girl who played George Michael's girlfriend on Arrested Development until we were sitting here just now. It just clicked. So so that was cool to see
because
another one
dynamic,
of the characters who's gone off and done something.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of like her and Michael Cera's dynamic.
Actually.
Yeah, no, it was around all that.
Well, Arrested Development,
because Arrested Development was before Scott Pilgrim, and she was on that.
Yeah,
she was.
So, so this is actually after them. That's cool. Okay,
it shows their dynamic. Hell yeah! So Roxy was one of my favorite evil exes, but we'll get to that in best fight. And then the next scene we get is Amp versus Amp, the Katyanagi twins, and like. Well, we have the scene with Roxy where Ramona and Scott like break up for a little bit, and like that was impactful because Scott's getting drunk and he's just being a douche because he's like fed up with all the evil exes. And Anna Kendrick is like, "Is she the one? You got to fight for it." That whole scene with her, and then she's like, "Yeah, my brother's an idiot." Shit, just Anna Kendrick just being so mean as a big sister. And it's like, she's younger sister. Does he have? Oh, no, Scott's younger. She's older.
No, Scott's 22. She's 18,
she's the younger sister. Yeah.
She's the younger. I thought she said my little bro. Hold on.
No, Stacy is 18, yeah. I wrote down all their boxes, like what it said in the box. I wrote down all those things.
Real. I thought she was. But anyway, that shit was hilarious. And then we get the beat battle between the Katsunagi twins and fucking Sex Bomb. Are we sure? Did Ramona Flowers date them both at the same time? And if you have a twin brother, are you sure you would date one girl? I don't know if that's popping off.
It could have been like one of those things, you know how in the twin episodes they both date one girl but the girl doesn't know it,
okay.
And then she found out after the fact. Like, I don't really think we really explore their backstory very much.
No, we don't get them. The only thing we get from them is when they're on stage.
I think that's when they were like, all right, we got to finish this movie, because the Katanyagi twins didn't get any like backstory. It goes straight to Gideon because Gideon gives them a nod and it's like, okay, y'all fight now. And then Gideon is with Ramona, and that goes into the downfall of like Ramona chooses Gideon. And then that goes after the Katanyagi twins, which is an amazing battle between their ogre and dragon. But they go outside, and then Sex Bomb gets a record contract. Scott's like, I can't sign. And then the band sells him out. Young Neil joins the band. And then Scott's at an all-time low. He has lost everything. I thought that was a very impactful moment for him to grow as a human.
Yeah. No, I one thing I remember from that fight is him starting the "We are Sex Bomb."
Yeah.
And I can't remember what he says though. It's pretty funny. It's like,
we're here to make you sad and stuff.
Yeah. We're here to make you sad and stuff. All of those were hilarious because the drummer girl gets one later when she's like, we're Sex Bomb and we sold out. It's just like, oh, that was awesome. We'll get to that. So yeah, so Scott, like I said, Gideon offers the record deal, buys Scott from the band. It's just super, super sad. And then his boy, Wallace, is like, bro, you got to get right. Like, you got to go after her. Fuck this. Fuck that douchebag. Go there, because he invites him. And then, so then we have, I wrote down Scott versus Gideon, take one, where he gets the power of love, but then he dies, and then he has to get, but he already had an extra life. And Ramona's like, yo, I'm being controlled by him. And it's like, yo, you got to do it for yourself. And then he does the power of self-respect. But I have a question with all of this, because Knives learns that Scott is cheating on him. We talked about this on the Bros Who Think pod. I told everybody we were going to talk about this on Bros Who Binge. Are we sure that Ramona and Scott do get together? Is there a difference between cheating on someone and cheating with? Because he didn't cheat on Ramona. He cheated on Knives. Like, when he's like, I cheated on both of you, I'm like, are we sure, bro? Like, you cheated on Knives. You didn't cheat on Ramona.
Well, how many dates? How many dates did he and she go on before he broke up with Knives? That's the real question. Was it one or was it two?
I think it was one, though. I think they had the first base big moment, and then he tells Knives, because Wallace is like, you don't want to lose Ramona. It's time to end it.
Well, and at one point he definitely says to Ramona, "Does that mean we're dating?" And she says, "Yeah." So like if that happens before he breaks up with Knives, then technically he's dating them both at the same time, which means he's cheating on them both at the same time. But I think the real problem is Ramona didn't know about Knives at all. Like if Scott is like, "Hey, look, I got this girlfriend. Her name is Knives,
But I'm about to
but I
break up
also
with her.
really like you.
Yeah.
Do you want like to get together with me while I'm still with this other chick and I don't break up with her?" And she did it knowingly, then that's one thing. But like if you don't even let on the fact that you're in a committed relationship or anything like that, then yeah, you did wrong by that person as well.
True. All right, look, Ian coming. Okay, I respect that. That is very true. I do respect that but I was just thinking, like, man, it's Knives who got done dirty. Ramona was the one who
she
got
definitely
chose.
got the worst.
Like
She
it
definitely
was
got
like
the worst of it.
Ramona did not get done bad. So,
And I guess another thing, it could be, echoing what Ian said, but because Knives had wanted to fight Ramona, it kind of put Ramona in a situation that that didn't necessarily ask for.
Mhm.
So that maybe he did. If it's not necessarily cheating, it's not giving the respect to either person that they're with by not giving them the full info. It's the same thing you're saying.
Is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Goes back to how Scott's a fucking bum. But the next scene after that, like I said, Scott.
We do also end up going back through both of their relationship history and realizing they were both scummy in lots of situations. Like Scott with like, well, she had freckles and it was high school.
With Kim?
Yeah.
Kim, the drummer?
And that's when I get, her name is Kim. And then we get to Scott versus Gideon take 2, where he apologizes to Kim. He apologizes to the band. He leaves the band. He gives the spot to young Neil. He grows up. He matures. He he does it for himself. He's battling for himself. He tells Ramona and Knives the truth. They kick ass. Knives and Scott versus Gideon. They whoop his ass. And then I love the whole nega Scott bit where they don't even fight. They're just friends. Shit was hilarious. And then Knives is like, "I'm too cool for you," and they realize they should just be friends. They break up, and then officially, even though they were already broken up, and then he gets with Ramona, and then they go off happily ever after.
Pretty much, yeah. Let's get brunch, or I love that guy. We're gonna get brunch
with Nega Scott. I thought that was awesome. But the Gideon fights, like you can tell 100% when they show their backs and they're doing all those flips, like. That is not Michael Cera and Jason Schwartzman. Because, like, the dude who's Michael Cera stuntman is big buffer than Michael Cera. Like, you can look at it in the moments like, it's like, whoa, that dude's a little buff. Like, he's just flipping around. There's no way that's Michael Cera.
No, they did do a good job of blending it together, though.
No, that's a fact.
Like, there were a few, because I was watching it, I was like, there's no way this is Michael Cera. So I was trying to pay attention to see if it was him. And they did a good job of, like, he would come out of a spin, and it would they would cut it really well, blending back to him to where they didn't have to change camera angles to cut it together.
But that's because they did a good job of making it to where when it was the stunt double, it was his back to us. It was either some flip or some like swipe, and he's like this way, and we see his back. And then every time when they would cut, like you said, they would do it so smooth, and then we see Scott in the front. We'd see Michael Cera. Same thing with Jason Schwartzman, because like they had a moment where Jason Schwartzman's back was turned, and he did like a big cut like this, a forward, and then it was time for him to come back, and he had his hand like this. It was like a little wimpy, attempt at a block. It was just hilarious because I was like, oh yeah, Jason Schwartzman does not know what he's doing with this katana right now. I just thought that was fucking hilarious. Like, oh my goodness. So anything else y'all got about the final fights? Just what y'all liked about them before we get to the rest of the categories?
I was happy to see young Neil become Neil. Mm-hmm. That was a great moment. That was one of my favorite.
Neil. No longer are you young Neil, just Neil.
Mm-hmm. Oh, another thing that we kind of glossed over was the bit where like the Men in Black spoof happened, where they come in and take away the guy's vegan powers. Todd's
the vegan police.
Did we mention that?
We definitely
the vegan police.
What I do think we did gloss over with that is the whole envy factor, like her relationship with Scott. That was Brie Larson as a character, so I mean, she didn't necessarily have the big role, but it was important in a way.
So
she's the reason why Scott's a douche,
right?
She's not a
one
sin.
Of the sins?
Envy
she's not
but
a sin.
I think
she's Scott's
ex. I think Envy is Gideon.
No, but I'm saying the word envy, is that one of the seven deadly sins?
No, that is one.
So do we think that envy takes the place of the two brothers who don't really get a backstory as being one of the sins?
I think okay, so I think it goes like we said, pride, Lucas Lee, gluttony, Todd.
Yeah, Brendan Routh.
Lust is Roxy. I think envy is
Schwartzman.
Envy is Schwartzman.
Matthew Patel
but
is.
But Schwartzman could be Wrath too. Do we think Do we think
Gideon?
do we think Gideon is more Wrath or more envy? Because he's Wrath because he does all of this because he's mad and he's angry. But I feel it's also
like the question is, do you think the twins are greed and sloth?
See, I think Matthew Patel's sloth.
Okay, maybe Matthew Patel's sloth. So the twins are just greed and
they're either greed and Wrath or they're greed and envy. They're one of them. Oh, do we think Matthew Patel's greed?
Because he just can't let go, even though it was so long ago. He thinks that she's still like his possession.
True. All right, I'm good with turning Matthew Patel to greed. So would
it be sloth and Wrath would be possibly the twins, which could make sense. Wrath could make sense because of just the nature of the fight.
And then they don't have no backstory, so they're super lazy. Yeah.
Well, Gideon could be Wrath, could he not?
That's what I'm saying. It depends on what we think Gideon is. I think Gideon's either Wrath or envy because he acts like he's not jealous of Ramona and he doesn't show her attention, but when she moves on, he makes this whole league due to his jealousy, and he's jealous of Scott so much that he signs Scott's label and his band. He doesn't even know the name of the band, but that could also be all of that could also be considered Wrath in his evilness.
Well, so let's say, because they're not going to have a character named Envy and not have her represent Envy. So in order to make that work, I think she would have to like take the place of the sixth X with the two, one of the two brothers. Because are they 5 and 6 technically? Do they
are 5 and 6
separate ones?
Yeah, they count as two separate ones.
So then I would think Gideon would be Wrath because he's just
evil.
He's just angry. Yeah, he's just an evil guy.
And then you count the twins as just greed.
They even call him
the twins are just sloth. Yeah, true. Okay.
Wallace, when he's on the phone, he's like, oh, he's like the perfect asshole. Like,
true. Okay, I'm cool with Gideon being Wrath and then having Scott's ex be Envy and have the twins be sloth because they have no backstory and they're just like they're just lazy out there. They're just pressing buttons. And if you think of the music they play, they're just DJs and they just push buttons.
Well, and if you think about it from the writer's perspective, maybe they got lazy in writing those characters.
Mm-hmm.
So they were like, all right, this is just going to be our sloth. We're not even going to bother with it.
Cool. We got them. The 7. Okay, so Matthew Patel is greed. Lucas Lee is pride. Todd is gluttony. Roxy is lust. Envy is envy. The Kanyagi twins is sloth. And then Gideon is Wrath. I fuck with it. Y'all let us know if y'all fuck with that on the spot like deep dive right there. That was beautiful. That was improv as fuck. So
I was checking to see like what, because there are definitely some Reddits that say it and they have completely different ones.
What do they have Gideon as?
They got Matthew Patel as pride.
No
Lucas
way.
Lucas Lee is sloth.
What?
Todd Graham is gluttony. Roxy is lust. 5 and 6 are the Kangagi twins, representing envy. Final boss is greed.
No way, bro. Nah, I don't like. The only one I can maybe see is Lucas Lee being sloth because he did have his stun doubles. But to me, it's pride. It's basically pride because of what Ian said. Like the way Scott goaded him into doing that, doing the grind.
They're saying like
that is 100% pride.
His slacker attitude and the fact that he doesn't fight his own fight.
Yeah, he gets all of his stunt doubles to do it.
I get the stunt double aspect, but to me, the fact is the way he dies is a prideful thing. It's 100% pride. And like
for Matthew, they say he's enraged because Scott doesn't take him seriously, making fun of his clothes and bothering not to read his email.
All right. But I like ours better. I like ours better than Reddit with Matthew being greed. Fucking we have Matthew as greed, Lucas Lee as pride,
Todd is
fucking
gluttony.
Todd is gluttony. Roxy is 100% lust. I don't know how they can say Roxy is gluttony.
No, they said
the
lust.
same.
Oh, they said lust.
They
okay,
said,
and then Gideon,
Todd is gluttony. I agree with the third
Gideon's wrath. Like he has to be wrath. Like that's 100%. So I fuck with ours more than Reddit. All right, do we have any more? Are we sure's? Just to finish that off, I have. Are we sure Scott would have ended up with Ramona in real life? I have. Are we sure Scott would have beat Lucas Lee? And then the cheating thing. Those are the only are we sure's I have.
It's hard to do are we sure because it is,
no, it's not.
Well, I mean,
are
because
we sure?
like,
are we sure Scott ended up with
gotten with Ramona in the first place?
Well, that's a fair one. I think that's a fair one, but I'm saying like any are we sure of like physical boundaries, really, right. Because like it's supposed to be a video game.
True.
Essentially.
But the Ramona one is a are we sure for sure. Like, are we sure this dude would have got with this cool ass chick with all these 7 deadly exes that she has? No way.
Well, and especially after he spent the whole first time meeting her, just stalking her around a building until she left.
And he only got her because the Amazon shit. Like, I don't know if Ramona's putting up with giving her number with this Amazon shit. She would have just gave the package and left and signed his name herself. Like, she's not waiting for Scott. Like, fuck no. Fuck no. Y'all got any are we sure's?
Well, I guess for that one at least, to play devil's advocate to my own point there, like maybe she was just like, you know what? I don't see it going anywhere with this guy, but I'm bored. I'm in a new town.
True.
Like, let me just give this guy my phone number and sign the 7 deadly X's and see if he can figure it out. Like maybe it was just a whole, like, she was like, all right, this is going to be something to do. Because it said that she was very like fickle.
Yeah, and she did put the X's, and she's spontaneous. So, Ian, that's a good point. That is a good point. Shubert, you got any are we sure's?
I also subscribe to the are we sure that Sex Bomb is a good band.
I'm sure they're not.
I'm sure they're not too. Yeah.
I'm very sure.
All right, let's start off because these are going to be fun. Let's start off with best fight. Which was the best fight of this? It's hard not to say the Gideon fight because it had the most choreography. But in terms of the other X's, I think Matthew Patel's fight might have been the best one. That's where I was going to lean.
Yeah, because especially because it starts things off and you really get to see like the extent of like the back and forth. Like I think even when we were talking about the scene you were talking about, it was like Dragon Ball Z.
Mm-hmm. Because he flies in the air, hits him with the Soryuken. And then we get the fireball shits, and it's just badass. That's a good fight. I think best fight has to go to the Gideon final just because of the knives and the choreography. But after that, I think it goes Matt Patel and honestly the Roxy fight with Ramona. That was a good fight.
Lynden, I just want to have a whole video where you do all of those fight moves just on a loop. We need that for the channel. Lynden teaches fighting.
But the fights that you expect, the Todd and Lucas Lee fights, they were kind of like, I think the Battle of the Band fight's better than those two.
The Todd fight and the Lucas Lee fight were just him outsmarting them. It wasn't even really a fight. He was just like, I'm going to be the clever guy in this scenario and not have to get my ass handed to me. Because just like you say with Lucas Lee, I'm absolutely sure he was not going to beat Todd in a fair fight. So, but I mean, you got to do what you got to do. If it's a game, you got to get to the next level somehow. So,
true.
I definitely would have lost a life in that level against Todd because he was throwing him through brick walls. Like, I know my body's not built for that. So,
that's where I would say where Todd's fight is at least better than Lucas's fight because there's some like really cool fight moments in that.
Telekinesis, and like what he does. And Scott does attempt to like throw hands because he's pissed that he hit knives, and then he's pissed that he's with Envy, and he's pissed that he's Ramona's ex. Like all three, Scott was trying to whoop his ass. He just couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
So what do y'all have as best fight?
I would say probably the fight with Roxy. Because
over the
choreography.
Do you have it over the Gideon one too?
Yeah, I think the Gideon fight was a letdown. But I'll explain why after. I'll talk about Roxy first, since I brought that up first. Roxy, the choreography with her like kicking him and like moving his arms, that must have taken so long for them to figure out how to make that look anywhere near decent.
Yep. And then the hammer before was great too.
Yeah, and the gigantic whip, those were very cool. So that was the fight that stuck out to me most. And then it only took like the one poke behind the knee to to crumple her.
Yep.
And I would think the Gideon fight is a letdown because, you know, we've sat here for I guess an hour and a half now, hour and 45 minutes, like building up to this fight with Gideon, and yes, he uses 2 lives, so I guess it does take a while, but they both, like the second one especially, just feels very rushed. Like I would have liked to see them, you know, him have to not necessarily do the same things, but like, you know,
Do
some kind of
something
extra
different?
twist in there. Yeah.
I
Not
respect
exactly
that.
the same way the first one
Or
played
like
out.
maybe like there's like almost a short, even shorter training montage. Like, okay, well now I got to be ready to fight this guy the second time or something, like on his way there.
But I
don't
did
know.
like
Or like
him
he
and
gets a
him and
power up or
Knives.
something.
Him and Knives did do a good job together.
Yeah, that
And
was cool.
the power of love sword was fire. So I thought it had some good moments in it. Man, you got me thinking Roxy over Gideon now. Shubert, what you got? Because you said Matthew Patel. I like that fight.
I still am leaning Matthew Patel. I think that fight was the biggest like fight, Scott versus someone else, you know, besides the Gideon thing. But even that had like a lot of extra.
Yeah,
you know, it's the only one that's like, you know, mono Scott versus an X. And so I feel like for that reason I'd put it at number 1, but I still say Gideon is number 2. You know, just the detail that goes into that fight with all, like even like all the little numbers that pop up every time someone makes contact or like blocks correctly,
all the
or stuff.
different hitmen, like there's just a lot to. All right, you've convinced me. I'm keeping Gideon 1. I'm going Matthew Patel 2, Roxy 3. Ian has Roxy as number 1. Shubert has Matthew Patel as number 1. Best fights. All right, let's jump into who took the L in. Oh, well, let's do who took the dub first. Who took the dub in this movie? Who got the win? I nominate Chris Evans, the actor. I nominate Kieran Culkin, the actor's performance, and I nominate Edgar Wright, the director, for this. And I think it's Edgar Wright based on the fact that this was an amazing film where he shows how he can edit, the way he wrote, directed, and produced this. He put a story together. This film got him Ant-Man. Like, this film made Edgar Wright be a household name. This film is the reason why he got Baby Driver at the end of the day. This film is the start of his just legacy of making great movies, and this film's a success. I think he is the biggest winner of this, but if I had to go an actor, I think it's actually Kieran Culkin. I think Kieran Culkin gave the best performance as Wallace, and I think he did the most job of making me care about him and making him endearing. So if it's not Edgar Wright, for me, it's Kieran Culkin, but I gotta go with Edgar Wright, the director, just for how spectacular this was. Since I went with Ian last time, Shubert, you can start this one off.
Well, character-wise, the winner is young Neil. I mean, he becomes Neil.
Absolutely.
All right.
Well, I guess actor-wise, if we're choosing someone, I actually think it bodes well for Chris Evans just because of what we're talking about, how he had to come into 2010 being no longer the Fantastic Four flop guy, no longer the not another teen movie spoof guy.
Yep.
I think this was an opportunity for
Captain
him.
America.
Yeah, I would say this more so than for Brie Larson, because Brie Larson had 21 Jump Street. I feel like was like her jumping off point.
And she had her big indie
and
movie.
Room.
Yeah.
But I think this time-wise for Chris Evans, because like this does come, I believe, after Captain America?
No, I think this is right, but hold on.
Or right before?
I'm about to tell you. Just give me 1 second. Chris Evans.
But like,
no, I agree with that take, Shubert. I think Chris Evans is definitely the winner as the actor.
Ooh,
either him or Anna Kendrick, maybe.
Ooh, so y'all got see. I just thought Kieran Culkin did such a damn good job as Wallace.
Well, we never see him again.
Yeah,
not till Succession. Yeah,
the best character for me is Wallace. You know, as far as characters who win, I got Wallace, Scott, obviously, because he gets Ramona Flowers.
Yeah,
and
no,
then
Schubert, this is before
the
Captain
band.
America. It goes Losers, which is a great Chris Evans role, and then it goes Scott Pilgrim, and then it goes Captain America, the First Avenger in 2011.
See, that's what I was thinking. Yeah, this was right before he jumped into all that.
Yep. So, all right. So you have Chris Evans winning as an actor, Schubert. Who's your overall winner? Just overall.
Overall winner, I'd probably have to say Scott because he's the hero.
Damn, I don't have Scott winning this. You clown.
Yeah, how I'm losing it.
All right. Ian, who you got winning? Oh,
Winners, I got Wallace because he just bangs the whole movie, and he gets his apartment back at the end of the movie.
facts. And he gets to bang as many
presumably
dudes
leaves.
as he wants. and
Yeah,
have a boyfriend.
Yeah, even while Scott's in the room, it just doesn't affect him. Doesn't phase him.
Yeah.
So Wallace, Scott, I think wins because he gets Ramona Flowers, and then the band and Neil, formerly known as Young Neil, they win as well because they win the battle of the bands. And
Ooh, I got a different take about that.
Well, don't they say they're actually no? They don't really address the band at the end.
The band loses, and I'm gonna get to why they lose.
Yeah, the band loses, man.
The band loses big. Because that's when the talent starts picking up coins because their record deal is gone and there's nothing they gain from this because Gideon's dead. Like
they get paid, don't they? With all that money?
They just get the random
coins.
They just get the random coins that Scott didn't take. The band took a fat L. They went from having a record deal to nothing.
Right? What's the conversion rate?
I thought it was 7,000. I don't know, but that's an L, Ian.
There are all sorts of different coins too. When you look close at them.
They go from having a record deal to not. And now they're probably just gonna do regular jobs.
Well, wouldn't even theoretically losing the battle of the bands or winning the battle, didn't they just gain enough attention? Like Scott even said to them at one point, like, Neil,
y'all will be okay without me.
You're not young Neil anymore. You're Neil. You guys are better off without me. Like, you guys are doing great. You're killing it.
It just depends on how great you think, because you got to think Gideon only signed them to get back at Scott and to be evil. So,
but now they have that on their resume. They're like, look, I got signed by Gideon Graves, and now he's dead.
Does Sex Bomb make good enough music to where it's like they'll get taken seriously now? That's my question.
Well, I don't want to. Does Creed make good enough music? I mean, they had a record deal. I'm not trying to offend any Creed fans. That's just not my lane.
No, I feel that.
There are a lot of people out there, especially in the world of country music nowadays. Jeez, how muddy down that's become. But
that's true. Okay.
There are so many examples of people with record deals that I personally would not sign to a record deal.
I'll concede that. So who you got winning? Man? Overall,
I'm hoping that they could spin it. Overall, I think the winner is Wallace.
I love that because he did a great job in this movie. Damn good job. The character is phenomenal. So you got the character Wallace winning. I have Edgar Wright winning the director. And Schubert, you have Scott winning over Chris Evans?
More so young Neil than anybody.
Oh, so you got young Neil winning. Okay.
Got a young Neil stand.
Hell yeah. All right, let's get to loser of the movie. Who took the L? I got Knives, because Knives didn't gain shit, and she lost major. I got Scott. Like, I know Scott got Ramona, but Scott was just a fucking bum and lost his house. But Scott's in third place. Like, Scott's not going to win this category. I just have to say, like, Scott's just a shit person, but he does get better after he had gained self-respect and all that shit. But Scott sucks. And then I got Sex Bomb because they lost their record deal.
Yeah, that's where I'm at too. Like the lead singer, Steven or whatever.
He was pissed.
He's struggling right now. He's struggling real hard.
To get coins. Like he's not doing good.
We can't take Steven's reaction to something as an indicator of how they're going to do. The guy freaks out at the drop of a pen.
Loser of the film.
Every time a door closes a little too hard.
And with not having Scotney around to mellow him out, it's like, who's going to mellow him out?
Who's the front man of that band now? Young
Neil.
Young Neil is the front man of that band.
And that's why
Elder Neil.
It's just I don't know. So Schubert, who you got losing?
So I have Steven losing because not only does he lose his record deal, but Young Neil becomes the face of the band.
You think Neil's gunning for the top spot in that band? I don't see him having the drive, man. I don't see him having the desire.
See Steven having the drive either.
Exactly.
Bro.
But Steven has always.
But Steven
been
the whole time is like, we got to get this record deal, guys. Like, we got to like.
And now I feel like he's so broken.
But Steven was one of the big driving factors for them to even get in the building in the first place.
He is the talent.
He was the one who sat them down and was like, yeah, we should go, perform at this event because Gideon's going to be there.
Yeah, true.
Like, Steven is a big catalyst for the band even being as successful as they were.
That is true.
It always fails.
Don't do that to Steven. How dare you, Shubert? You're always trying to smear people.
Who you got?
How dare you?
Ian?
Smearing the talent.
Don't put that on my talent like that.
I got Ian. You go ahead, and then I got one more.
Did you start already?
Yeah,
I said
if you started, you can. Yeah, you can finish. If you got
the other one is Todd.
Ooh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh man, Todd took a L, lost his vegan powers and his girl. Yeah,
Yep.
It's hard to argue against Todd. That's a good one.
Yeah, that's a big sleeper as a loser.
Todd
I think the
messed up
X's
big
in
time.
general, like every X took a L in some way. A, because they couldn't be with Ramona anymore.
But
And
yeah,
B, because they got beat by Michael Cera, and that's just an L in and of itself.
that's a fact.
If ever a video pops up of me online getting my ass beat by Michael Cera, just go ahead and stop talking to me. I'd be okay with it if you delete my number out of your phone, because that's an L in and of itself. No offense to Michael Cera, but I think I could take him.
No, all offense. He knows.
All of it. Yeah, a lot of smoke to Michael Cera. Come find me.
But so who you got as your overall loser, Ian?
My overall loser is Knives. I mean, she bowed out with such grace, so I got to give her props for that. But yeah, the whole time, all she wanted was just to have a boyfriend and fall in love with somebody. And then she just gets strung along for a whole movie, and even helps that guy out at the end, and then still doesn't get to end up with him.
I agree with you, and I said Knives lost, but can I make a counter to maybe why she wins? Because even though all that shit happens to her, she gets away from Scott Pilgrim, and now she can go find her a good man.
Jeez, man. Okay,
she escapes. She escapes Scott Pilgrim. She had young Neil for a little while too, so
But she escapes all that bullshit. She's done with all that.
She was never into young Neil.
Yeah,
young Neil was just a prop.
Yeah, he was.
She was missing out.
But I do like your choice of Knives losing, because I'm between Knives and Todd. Like, both are just taking big L's.
Well, see, I want to go back to your views about Scott Pilgrim for a second here, because I don't think him being a winner and him being a shitty person have to conflict with each other. I think he can still suck as a person, but that doesn't define whether he wins or loses.
True.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I hate Scott as much as the next guy.
True.
Scott is a bum.
Yeah,
he's just, and he never really grows as a person during the whole movie. He just kind of skates by. Yeah, I mean, he does fight people, I guess, but he just kind of
grows at the end. But do you believe that growth? Like,
but what does he learn at the end? I mean, he makes peace with his inner self, I guess. When he well, I mean, you can make the argument he makes peace with his inner demons when he patches it up with the Nega Scott.
Yeah. And with Kim and Knives and everything, yeah.
Maybe that was another version of their just quick wrap up of we're not going to do the Katsunagi twins and we're not going to do his actual character development. We're just going to do some side bit real quick.
Pat, yeah, because we got to finish this.
But if that's the case, then I'm not buying it, because you don't just it doesn't take 30 seconds to 10 minutes or however long this was to work out your inner demons. You know what I'm saying?
True.
I ain't buying that.
True. So, all right, Shubert, who you overall loser? Ian has Knives. Who do you have?
Steven.
Oh, you got Steven over Todd?
No, I'll go Todd. Todd's
You
good.
got Todd? Man, fuck. Y'all both have good answers. Is it worse that Todd lost his vegan powers and his girl, or is it bad that Knives went through this whole movie taking a fat L? I'm rocking with Ian, but Todd's a close second because Knives just got played. Knives got screwed.
She got beat so bad the highlights came out.
Yeah, she got punched, bro. Knives took a punch for Scott. Yeah, Knives took a L. Big L. All right, let's get to something that I think is fun. Sixth man of the movie. I think it's only one answer. I think it's Aubrey Plaza, and I think it's Aubrey Plaza. And I don't know who comes close.
I think it's Kim.
Yeah, I was going to say Kim as well. Are we talking actor or character? Because actor, it's Aubrey Plaza. But actual character, I'm going with Kim. Because Kim is just, they mention it, Scott did her dirty in his high school days. And through all of that, not only does she stick with the band, but she always helps him.
Yeah.
Like, even when it's not convenient for her, she'll do what's necessary to, help Scott out. So,
where Julie doesn't really do shit.
Goes, what's that?
I was talking in terms of acting, but in terms of character, I agree with y'all. In terms of character, it's Kim. But acting-wise, I got to give it to Aubrey.
I mean, that's cool.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because, like, every time she comes
Anna
in...
Kendrick.
Every time she comes in, she's shooting a deep three and knocking it down. Aubrey Plaza doesn't miss with all that, with her acting in this. But I do agree with y'all, character-wise, it's got to be Kim.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think we can agree with all that.
Kieran Culkin as well.
See, I think Kieran Culkin, I think he's a starter. I think Kieran Culkin's, he's a starter. Like, Kieran Culkin is like the power forward. You dump it to him in the post, and it's an easy hook shot 2-point basket.
Can we do a starting five with this movie, or are there not enough main characters?
No, I think there's enough. I think you got Scott.
So obviously Scott and Ramona.
Scott, Ramona, Wallace.
We got Wallace.
I'd probably say Knives.
Knives, yeah.
And then Gideon, huh?
And I'd say Gideon, too. I'd say Gideon has to be a...
how much of the movie is he even in?
But he's the mastermind.
He's the mastermind.
And he's the big bad.
But we don't see him for 75% of the movie.
True.
Imagine not seeing one of your starters for 75% of the game. Is he even do we even consider him the same as the other starters at that
Steven.
point? Yeah, I guess it would have to be a band member.
Yeah, it is Kim. But see, I think Kim has to be a 6-man. Man, nice. Fuck. Wallace, Ramona,
because then you would consider Aubrey to be in there, but Aubrey's not a top 5.
No, Aubrey's not a starter. And it's not Anna Kendrick.
It's definitely not Young Neil.
It's got to be Gideon, man. It's got to be. And I know it's not.
Yeah,
I know that's cop-out, but it's got to be
I'll take
Gideon.
it just because he's the villain. I'll take it.
Just because he's the villain.
Could be Bill Hader.
No, Bill Hader's not even in this. What are you
he's
talking
the
about?
voice.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Y'all just got me. Hell yeah. Shubert, give us some of the castings that could have happened.
All right. Well, only a few big names for this because it wasn't, that huge a film. But Robert Pattinson read for Lucas Lee. So he could have been in there instead of Chris Evans. Let's see. So this article I have says there was a big jumping point for Chris Evans, Brie, Kieran, Aubrey, Anna, and Mary. But Sebastian Stan came to read for Steven, the band leader.
Interesting.
And then Robert Pattinson read for, like I said. And then Rooney Mara, she read for Kim. Betty Gilpin also auditioned for the role of Kim.
Betty Gilpin would have been a good Kim.
Yeah. Way different Kim.
Yeah, very different Kim. Very, very different Kim. Word, what do y'all rank the film?
Out of 10?
Film?
Yeah, guitar rankings.
It's a damn near perfect.
There's not much I would change, honestly. I don't like the idea of recasting anyone in this film, really. I think because there's no glaring, bad actor in this movie. And I think that if you did replace someone in this movie, it would mess with the cult aspect of it, because I feel like part of the reason this movie got so popular is because almost every character in this went on to do other, big name things.
Yeah, where when you're doing this on the rewatch, and you even said it yourself, where you're like, oh,
I was just noticing, I was like, oh, that's who that is. I didn't even recognize him the first watch.
No. So yeah,
did Ali Wong go on to do anything after this? The girl who played Knives?
She was in Glow.
Oh yeah. This also says she was in the CW series The Carrie Diaries. I've not seen that TV show. But yeah, every time that you watch this, you just think about all the other, classic films that these other people went on to make as well. So I think replacing them from this movie would mess with how well this movie grows and how
and I think this movie's so good because of
liked.
The talent. There's so much good talent in this movie, and if you replace anybody, I think you lose what makes this film great. Like the cast is really what the fact that you can have Aubrey Plaza, Anna Kendrick, Chris Evans, Brie Larson, Brandon Routh, Michael Cera, Jason Schwartzman, Mary Elizabeth Weinstead, I think that's her name.
Yeah, Weinstein.
Like, that's an amazing cast. And honestly, out of all of those, Ramona might be the weakest.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I couldn't tell you what else she went on to do.
Like, she just started balling. Well, she's in Birds of Prey now, but like this, she didn't catch fire until late.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, not like everybody else did.
Yeah, she was in some Die Hard movies.
Exactly.
As Bruce Willis's daughter.
So this is like, I wouldn't change the cast. So what y'all rating 1 through 10? Let's get our aggregate score. And is this the new Run It Back King?
The one thing that I would knock on it, because like, you know, I love bite-sized movies, is that it sometimes moves a little too fast at some arcs.
It needs to be a little longer, honestly.
Yeah. If you wanted to like fully flesh it out, it would need to be a little bit longer. But, and it only just comes under 2 hours.
Yeah, it's an hour and
52 minutes, I think.
52 minutes, yeah.
Yeah. So
it should have been a 2 hour, 15-minute film.
See, but how much do you really get from that?
True.
What is that? Another 20-something minutes?
Yeah,
minutes?
but I think adding some Katayanagi twins backstory, giving Michael Cera a little more character development, and stretching out that ending to where like we get more choreography for the Gideon stuff.
Where it didn't seem rushed or whatever.
Yeah, it just felt like like once you get to the Katayanagi twins, it's like, all right, we got to get to the end. Where everything felt deliberately paced leading up to it, and like once we get to them, it's like, all right, now we got to really crank it out.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah, I guess if you were going to explain the Katayanagi bit a little bit more, that would make sense. And then maybe you don't have to rush through the ending fight like they did the second life.
The second go through.
Oh, and again, I see why they did that because, you know, it'd be boring to watch the same things over and over again. But
like you said,
you could have taken a different path.
Yeah, like Scott learned something. He's different. Like, let's give us a new outlook on things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so
but like I said, other than that, I feel like it's damn near perfect.
So what you ranking it out of 10?
I probably have to put it at 9.2.
Oh, is this about to be better than Pulp Fiction? Oh my god!
Well, I mean, like it's hard because you have to take personal tastes into account. Where like I feel like this is a movie that I feel like is way easily rewatchable.
It's definitely more run it backable than Pulp Fiction.
But like the thing is I feel like it is a lot more niche than Goodfellas and Pulp Fiction, where I feel like Goodfellas and Pulp Fiction, a broad spectrum of people can watch it. Like, for example, like when we did Goodfellas, I watched that with my girlfriend and she enjoyed it just as much as I did, and I didn't watch it with her this time. And I think she still likes Scott Pilgrim, but I don't know if she'd like go crazy for it. I'm going crazy for it. So it's like, I just don't know if like Scott Pilgrim
comes down to taste in this. It's a different type of film too. Like it's like Scott Pilgrim's not winning any Oscars.
No,
probably not.
Yeah, so you know,
visual effects.
So 9.2. Ian, what you got out of 10?
I kind of agree with Shubert on the pacing thing. You know, I think they could have fleshed things out a little bit more. You know, like I said earlier with Goodfellas, there's not really like. You can't really break the movie down into parts or acts even.
Yeah.
It's just all like a big string of different little tiny bits in a row.
The one argument
which I think works well
is that it's a video game format, so it's supposed to like have like this.
That's and I think it makes the movie what it is. I don't think it would have worked if they had tried to flesh certain scenes out for a lot longer, or at least it wouldn't have had the same feel. But I really enjoyed this movie. I like the way it was put together. I like the fact that it's so different from everything else. I just have trouble following it personally at times. So I guess that's my biggest qualm is just at myself. I'm going to go with a 9.1.
All right. 9.2, 9.1. I'm going to go 8.9 because of the pacing and just because of some of the things we said. I think the beginning, it starts a little slow, but once you get into it, you really, really get into it. I think the humor in this is great. I think the fighting and the effects are great. It's just all the little negatives that we said. That's why I'm giving it an 8.9. So we got 9.1 plus 9.2 plus 8.9 divided by 3. The aggregate score of this movie is a 9.0. This is now the new running back king, Scott Pilgrim.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because Goodfellas had 8.8, Pulp Fiction had 8.9, and this one has 9.0 because you gave Goodfellas a 8, Shubert. You gave it an 8.
I didn't give it an 8.
What you give it?
I
It
probably
wasn't
gave
a
it like
9.
an 8 something.
You gave it like an 8.4. You pulled an Ian. Ian did 8.4 last week for Pulp Fiction. Like y'all was clowning with Pulp Fiction and Goodfellas. Y'all was both clowning. But it's okay.
I don't know, man. There were a lot of things wrong with Pulp Fiction.
I don't think Scott Pilgrim will be the running back king forever, though. I think things like Django and Glorious Bastards, Dark Knight, I think those.
Well, if we get into Superbad.
And yes, yeah, for sure. Like whatever comedy we do next week.
I'm giving Superbad an 11. Y'all can just go ahead and skip that review. You know my review.
Word. Well, Scott, I think we all believe Scott Pilgrim is running backable. It has a high rewatch quality, and it's something that like if the movie comes on and you're at
easy to find.
Yeah, if you walk into a party and it's at the fight with like Lucas Lee, you're going to stop and watch. Or if it's at the part of the movie with Todd, you're going to stop and watch. You know what I mean? So, like, this movie has a high rewatch factor.
Also, I feel like it's one of those movies, more so than the other ones, where you can put it on mute in a party and just let it run in the background.
The others, you can't do that. Not at all. So
or even just, if you're folding laundry and you got to have something to throw on in the background, like you say, just for yourself. This is one of those things because you can look up at any moment and something entertaining is going on. And then, like we say, the scenes are so short that you just jump in anywhere. You don't have to wait for like the scene to end.
Crazy. Scott Pilgrim, running back king, but I ain't mad at it because I really do love this film. All right, man, that's all we got this week. Ian, start us off. Tell the people they can find you on social media.
All right, you can find me on Instagram at Ian Hawley 12, HAWLEY. You can find me on Twitter at IanBWT, as in Bros Who Think. And you can find me on SoundCloud. Our band name, I guess, is Chop Shop. And you can find me on YouTube at Old Daddy. If you search Old Daddy Rough, it's OLE. You'll come up, see my playlist. And if you guys could go check that out, that'd be great. Like,
y'all make sure y'all go follow Ian and check out his music. We used it as a song last week for Song of the Week on the Bros Who Think podcast. It is great. Y'all make sure y'all go follow Ian and check that out. Shubert, tell the people they can find you on social media.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at ashubert14 and listen to the Bros Who Binge podcasts every week.
Yeah, good call saying every week because we are about to change the date. We said it on the Bros Who Think podcast. The Bros Who Think podcast is moving to Mondays on November 2nd. So the Bros Who Binge will get a new date, but we will let y'all know as soon as we know. But
we just reviewed The Boys.
Most the finale. Episode, y'all be sure to check that out. And this week we got the trial of Chicago 7 and a whole bunch of news. Schubert's excited for this episode.
Lynden, before we get out of here, just like real quick, Ian, can you give us just like what you thought about The Boys since we got you here?
Oh man, The Boys this season was fantastic. And I thought season 1 was good, and I didn't know how they were going to build off of it from there. I thought the fact that they introduced Starlight as one of the new main, or not Starlight, Stormfront as one of the new main characters worked really well for this season. I guess I won't go into too much detail about that just because we don't want to do a whole nother podcast right now.
Yeah.
But I thought it was fantastic, and I'm really looking forward to season 3, whenever that may be.
Oh, yeah.
Best show on TV, man. Best show on TV. Love The Boys.
I would agree.
You guys can follow me at LynnBWT. Follow the Bros Who Think at Bros Who Think. Be sure to check out the latest Bros Who Think podcast. By the time you guys hear that is out. Be sure to check out the latest episode of Anime Talk. That is out. And just for more information for the next Run It Back poll, just be on the lookout at the Bros Who Think Twitter because that poll will be up definitely by Friday at the latest. So be on the lookout for that. But for Ian, for Shubert, my name is Lynden. You guys have a great one, and we will talk to you next time. Until then, peace.